podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Well, the sun is finally out, summer is finally here, and with the Olympics on its way, what better place to be than at the home of Paddle UK and a real legacy venue of London 2012. I'm John, and I'm at the Lee Valley Whitewater Centre.
And I'm Michael, and with Paris 2024 now just a month away, final preparations are taking place.
Coming up, we'll hear about every member of the British canoe slalom team from the man who knows, performance director Mark Ratcliffe.
We'll hear from each of the team as well, including a special announcement from Adam Burgess.
As of today, I've been announced on the Kayak Cross team.
And hear about the legacy of 2012 here at the Lee Valley Whitewater Centre.
Wembley, you can see the turf, but you'll never, sadly, get to play on it. Here, you actually raft down exactly the same course.
This is a special episode of the podcast with Paddle UK.
And what a glorious day it has been. The sun has been shining, the water has been sparkling here, and the games are a month away. The canoe slalom team head off to Paris for their last training session before the games on the course, where they'll be aiming for gold in the C1, K1 and the new discipline to the Olympics, Kayak Cross. Want to know more about that and who's representing Team GB? Well, no better person to start with than Performance Director for Canoe Slalom, Mark Ratcliffe.
So we've got obviously the two disciplines, slalom and kayak cross, but the four athletes are doubling up into both of those. So if I run through slalom first, then obviously the same athletes into kayak cross. So women's C1, Mallory Franklin, obviously world champion last year. She brings experience. She's a super smooth paddler. You watch her come down the course. You know, she makes it look effortless. We've got Kimberley Woods in the K1 women slalom. Very skillful in the slalom, you know, quite small, so she gets around the poles really quickly. You know, good fighting character. We have Adam Burgess in the men's C1. Similar to Mallory in a way, he's like a very technical paddler, you know, super smooth. You know, when it's going well, he makes it look easy, the event. But he's, you know, really into the process, you know, loves his canoeing. And we have Joe Clarke in the men's kayak slalom. Joe is a strong, powerful athlete. It's not to say he's not a technical athlete either. I think that sometimes gets a bit missed. Obviously a good battler in kayak cross. All slalom athletes, but all those athletes will also be doing kayak cross. So same athletes in kayak cross, but you have two entries there. So you have two women, Mallory and Kimberley, and then two men, Joe and Adam, doubling up.
The team was first announced in November, so you've had time to prepare, but Adam's just been added to the kayak cross?
Yeah, so the four quotas that you get for your slalom, also you double up into kayak cross. So there was a process there. If we could qualify in Prague a men's kayak cross quota, we could actually replace Adam just for the kayak cross with a specialist. We unfortunately didn't achieve that in the men's kayak cross in Prague. So now we're just confirming that Adam will double up and take that place in kayak cross. It's obviously not his main event, that being slalom, but it adds to the mix of athletes doing kayak cross, and obviously there's potential for him to do well, but also a benefit in terms of helping Joe as well there.
I was going to ask that. Talk us through the schedule, because what comes first and what do you prioritise?
So unlike other games, it's a long schedule this time, so 10 days of competition throughout. So we start off with the slalom. You've got heats and then final, which is starting off with women's kayak and C1, and then the C1 and women's kayak finals in slalom, and then you go to the same rounds for effectively the women's C1 and men's kayak. So heats followed by finals day, followed by finals day. So those 6 days are the slalom program. So something on every day. 4 of those days are medal days effectively. And then you're straight into the kayak cross, which starts off with the time trial on the first day, and then you're into 3 days of the head-to-head racing. So you've got a round 1 and repechage on the second day after the time trial, and then you're into another day of heats, and then you're into quarterfinals, semi-finals on the final day. So all the medals for kayak cross are on the final day. So quite a lot over that schedule to deal with, and you can imagine the individual programs there. Somebody's on early, then on late. Somebody's on late and late. So they've got, you know, quite individual schedules to try and manage for themselves.
Joe and Kimberley, obviously world champions in the kayak cross. If you win medals in the C1 or K1, does that kind of get more complicated then focusing on the Kayak Cross?
I'm sure they'd be super motivated on the back of that if that was the case. But you've got to prepare for that. They obviously do this at all competitions anyway. So they'll do slalom, then they have to, whether that's gone well or not, you kind of have to refocus and get on with your other event. So they're well used to that. I think here you've just got those different gaps, like I've mentioned, to kind of decompress, come off whatever's happened, whether you're celebrating or having to just come to terms with what's happened. But that's part of the planning and preparation to then go again in obviously the Kayak Cross. So and my hopes for all of them is that they obviously deliver what they're capable of, that personal best, focusing absolutely on the process of what they need to do, and obviously all the distractions that come with it can take away from that. So that will be my hope for them, and they can walk away proud of what they've done.
And we're here at the amazing Lee Valley Whitewater Centre, where you guys train all the time. What about the course in Paris? I know you've been out there a lot because you need to be able to practice on that course, but how tough will it be, and what should we be looking out for?
Yeah, so the venue-specific nature of the course, the sport, is obviously important. Like you say, we have been going out there for a while. So it's been built for a couple of years now, so it makes it open to all nations to go and do the same. So we've taken a little and often approach to it. So we go out, it's quite close obviously, go out there quite often. It is similar to here in some ways, like the way the features are and things like that, but it's I'd say a smaller scale than here. So here's got quite big drops, Lee Valley, the power of the water is a bit stronger. So it is still really technical, but it's a bit narrower and a little bit less volume in the course. And I think the other thing we think about is just the nature of how the crowd will be there, and the setup of the venue is quite close to the water, a slightly narrower course. It'll feel quite intense with that setup. So that's something else just to think about. But we've obviously spent quite a lot of time there over the last 12, 18 months. Feel very familiar.
Mark Ratcliffe speaking with John. So all 4 Team GB canoeists will have the chance to win 2 medals at Paris 2024. Now let's hear from Adam Burgess. He is off to his 2nd Olympic Games.
As of today, I've been announced on the Kayak Cross team. It's a bit of a surprise. I don't have much experience in the event, but basically my qualification for C1 slalom automatically makes me eligible to race Kayak Cross. And it's exciting. I get to do something a bit different. I think it'll be quite nice I'll be competing at an event at the Olympic Games and have zero pressure because there's no expectation on me. I can go out there and enjoy it, and you just never know in an event like that. Maybe I can do a bit of damage. We'll see.
It's very different. It's quite physical because you're racing people down the course. I noticed you've got a cut eye. You haven't already been injured, have you?
I have been paddling a bit of Kayak Cross this morning, but the cut eye was actually from my slalom session. It's not what I expected. But it's physical. And I think, because I'm not, as used to the boat, chances are, I'm going to get off the ramp. I'll probably be starting at the back. I'll feel a bit happier about that it'll be me doing the attack, trying to do the overtake on the upstreams, rather than the other way around. There's no way I'm going to get out in front. It'll be a case of trying to play it tactical and try and get an overtake and just get over the finish line before the others.
So you mentioned maybe nothing to lose in the Kayak Cross. You must be pleased then that the C1 comes first and you can concentrate on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Fortunately, slalom's first. And I just can't wait to get on that start line now. We've had some good performances already this season. And I love that course out there. It's a bit more similar to here than where we've been racing. But I'd say the technical difficulty is probably higher actually than here. But it makes it really interesting for me. I've really enjoyed my time out there so far, and I've got 3 weeks there coming up, and then we go out for real at the end of July.
We heard from Mark Ratcliffe, your PD, talking about how you're a technical canoeist and you love the process of canoeing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's why I'm still here. 20 years later, I'm still just absolutely fascinated by it. The feeling you get when you're on white water, and there's 11 tons of water every second come down this channel. When you're in control of that, honestly, there's just no better feeling. And the truth is no one will ever master it. It is very much an on-the-day thing for us as well. So it is as much technical as it is, a mental game. And those things I just find absolutely fascinating. And because no one will ever completely master it, we're all just hoping to try and have your day on the right day, and it is a process, and it's just really exciting, and I love it.
Adam Burgess going in the C1, and surprisingly to him, the Kayak Cross. British teammates Joe Clarke and Kimberley Woods are world champions in that event, won here at the Lee Valley Whitewater Centre last year. Kimberley, before we talk about you, have you given any advice to Adam Burgess about the Kayak Cross?
Not yet, but my coach Craig has definitely said that I'm definitely going to be giving him some input on some of the upstreams, but that is going to be a bit of a process that we're all going to go through. But yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for him to get out there and try it.
And the fact that all four of you have all got your own individual events, and then you'll come together for the Kayak Cross as well, it makes it a different Olympics, that there's the opportunity to win 2 medals. Yeah,
which is kind of crazy, because I never thought I'd be there in 2 disciplines, because it's so competitive between myself and Mallory, and not having that opportunity for us both to be there in all the disciplines, because we're all very good at all the disciplines. So yeah, having the opportunity to win 2 medals is incredible, and I think it showcases the sport a little bit more.
You're world champion in Kayak Cross here at the Lee Valley Whitewater Centre, and you're going in the K1 as you say. Can you sort of say which one your favourite is, or not allowed to?
No, definitely not. I think Kayak Cross has got that little bit of specialty with being world number 1 and world champion, and I think it brings me good feelings. With the slalom, like, I've been building, and I've really performed really well recently, and claimed not even back into the top 10 world rankings, but first time ever, and I think it kind of shows that I'm ready for it, and I'm trying to get there and go to the games and feeling in good spirits.
You've been quite open recently about the struggles that you've had since Tokyo. How are you?
Doing really good, which is really nice. I think, yeah, it can be a bit of a struggle leading into such a big competition, but I've learned so much leading into Tokyo, and the disappointment around that, and even the couple of seasons after that with my slalom, it is hard and it's tough to kind of want to be somewhere that you're not, but I feel like I've showcased that, and I've really believed in myself and focused on the right things, and I've made sure I've communicated a lot better around, like, people around me, of what I need around such a big event.
And you've kind of touched it on already. What are you going for Paris? What do you want to go and do in Paris?
I mean, I'm going to say I want to win 2 golds, but I think ultimately, like, I can't control the outcome. I can kind of control what I put into it, and I really want to enjoy the whole experience of what a game should be like, missing out on that whole part in Tokyo. So yeah, I really want to enjoy it and be myself and be proud of who I am, and showcase who I am and finish as high as I possibly can.
Team GB slalom canoeist Kimberley Woods. Still to come, we'll talk legacy at this amazing venue in Hertfordshire. But first, after the European Championships and the recent World Cup event in Poland, all eyes are now on the Olympic Games in Paris. And how are our athletes preparing? Let's hear from silver medalist from Tokyo, Mallory Franklin.
I think right now I'd like more time, but that's probably a bit off the back of my year so far, and just trying to go back to basics on a few things and settle myself again. But no, I'm really excited we head out to Paris on Sunday, so get to see the course and all the grandstands and everything that's building there. So I think that will really help kind of make it feel like it's come in and really lock things in. Something
Mark Ratcliffe said to us was that the crowd's going to be quite on top of you.
Yeah, it looks like it based on the stands. It's quite a small venue, Paris. It's quite a little circle and quite tight. So I think it is going to feel a little bit, especially with, I think they're like saying like 12,000 or something stupid, which is really cool but terrifying. So I think it is going to feel a little bit like everyone's there and all you can see is people, which I think is really interesting, mostly to kind of get to experience that after Tokyo being empty and kind of the empty stands the entire race. So it's kind of a bit daunting, but a lot of my anchors are in my paddling and doing it for me, so kind of doesn't need to involve the crowd, and I think it will create an atmosphere of really trying to build into the racing and feel like it's not that pressure, because I think it's good pressure in kind of appreciating what it is in the games. And I think that was hard to find in Tokyo because it was so quiet. It was kind of didn't really feel like a games, and it was hard to kind of get that little bit of motivation of like what it is, which maybe helped me a bit in terms of being able to just focus solely on myself and have no distractions. But I think Paris is going to be really cool and kind of nice to have that kind of reminder every time you go anywhere near the course that there is a lot of people and they probably care about canoeing.
And talking of that, Mark was describing you as a very technical canoeist. He described you as making it look effortless.
Yeah, I saw a thing the other day. It was Roger Federer's little speech that he did, that he said that he hated when people said things look effortless, and that really sticks in my mind. But I think canoeing can be like that at times. I think I try really hard to use the water, and I guess because of my upbringing of being in paddling for so long, I tend to anchor quite a lot on my confidence of using the water and making a plan and my knowledge of it. So I can see how it comes across that way, but I'm going to fully go with Roger Federer and say that it's not effortless. There's a lot that goes into it, a lot of mental work and physical and technical work, and I think that when I'm at my best it looks that way, but that's usually when I have all my ducks in a row and I'm able to really focus on myself and just go canoeing.
Mallory Franklin. And Joe Clarke admits he's ready to hit the water this week in Paris ahead of next month's games, and eyeing up 2 more medals to add to his gold he won famously in Rio 8 years ago.
We had the World Championships in here last year at Lee Valley Whitewater Centre last year. I had to race slalom before on the Saturday, won that, and then I had to actually go and do a Kayak Cross training session shortly after winning the gold medal, which was tough to motivate myself, because it was like I've been waiting for this world title in slalom for a long time, and then do a training session straight afterwards. So then race the next day was hard to put myself up for, but it's quite nice. The schedule in Paris spreads it out a little bit. So the final for me will be on the 1st of August, and then I've not got to compete again in the final until the 5th of August. I mean, we've got rounds that I'll have to get through, but it's quite relaxed compared to the usual schedule.
And how different is the Kayak Cross to what you normally do in slalom?
It's massively different. Slalom is very much about you versus the clock, and I can't influence the other athletes on the start line. Whereas the Kayak Cross is obviously a head-to-head discipline, where contact's allowed. So in a battles and racing happen, and you can influence people's outcome basically yourself. So massively different. Obviously, different boats, different paddles, different kit. But I think they've both got the kind of intricacies, and I think a lot of people look at the Kayak Cross and think it's a strong man's game, but there's a lot of tactics and technique that go into it.
You've been very open. You want another gold medal. In fact, you want 2 gold medals, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't want 2. I mean, that sounds pretty greedy. 1 would be amazing. But really, I want to go out there and just focus on myself and do what I'm capable of doing, and I think that will result in medals. And I think, as much as I'd like to nail my colours to the mast and say 2 golds, I think in a sport like this that things can change day to day. As long as I can put down my best performances, I think they'll stack up in medals, and fingers crossed the wind blows in the right direction, we can come home with those golds.
Joe Clarke, and it feels like the canoe slalom team here are in good shape. Big smiles, nervous anticipation of course, but they know what job they have to do in Paris. The team, of course, winning 2 medals in Tokyo and 3 in Rio.
And the Lee Valley Whitewater Centre has helped in their preparation and planning. It is also celebrating more than 1 million visitors. Now that could be going out on the water, taking part, or coming to the centre to watch world-class canoe events. And that has been in the past decade. Stephen Bromberg is from the Lee Valley Regional Park Authority, and they own the site.
People have had the ability to come, to raft, to canoe, to kayak, and the whole principle of this place is to be community centred but commercially driven, so that we want to be able to make sure that we can run this in a financially sustainable way for generations to come.
And it is a case that you can come and do what the Olympians do.
Absolutely. This is not Wembley. Wembley, you can see the turf, but you'll never, sadly, get to play on it. Here, you actually raft down exactly the same course where Team GB won gold and silver on one magical day back in 2012, and that the world's best train every single day here on that same course. So you get to do that same experience.
And tell us about the future for the Lee Valley Whitewater Centre as well, because you mentioned the glorious day in 2012, but we've had World Championships here, we've had European Championships here. Could they all be coming back?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a pipeline of big events, and we also have a pipeline, and we've been very good at investing in the facilities here since the centre opened, just to make sure that we're keeping it in its number 1 position. It's often rated by athletes as the best in the world still. We would quite like them to keep rating it that way, but we also want members of the public and anyone that wants to come and have a go to love it.
This location opened before London 2012, but it is a real good indicator that legacy has worked from the London Olympics.
Well, I think Britain's got a lot to be very proud of, and London's got a lot to be very proud of, particularly on the sporting legacy. I mean, this venue alone, 600,000 people have paddled and used the facilities here. Millions have visited. And I think there's a very strong tale to tell. I mean, part of it is probably evidenced by the fact we are inundated by delegations from around the world who want to learn what London's done, how we've got this right, and sharing that knowledge is a big part of what we do.
Stephen Bromberg, and 12 years on from 2012, as the sun shines, what a summer we have in store at Paris 2024.
And you can find out much more info on all things paddle sport at the website paddleuk.org.uk. This has been a special episode of the podcast with Paddle UK.
Sports Social Podcast Network.